Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Have you ever wondered what games you should sell or you should use? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Find out on our top 10 list what games you cannot miss. Don't forget to subscribe to Purge Reviews.
Now, Master Builder is a game that sat on my shelf for a long time, and it looked like this heavy, I don't know, I just saw this at the top, and it looked like a heavier Euro game. I looked at the bottom, it's like these claymation figures, and I thought, well, maybe this is a family type game. I started looking at it, and it plays in an hour, the complexity is not too high. It ended up not being what I thought it was going to be. So let me go through the game a little bit. So what it is, it's kind of like this Euro hiring people auction mechanic, and then you put those guys to use to build buildings. You don't need components, you just need workers. That's all you need. But each worker, each building has a requirement on each part of it: roof, wall, front door, back door. And they require a certain type of worker, but each of those workers have deficiencies, so sometimes they might not work. And that doesn't make sense probably right now, but in the flow of the game, I'll show that to you. What I liked about this game is the art is great. I really like the art. They went... what's in the game is good. It's odd looking, it stands out, and I liked it. They use these 3D buildings that are very, very cool. So when you actually build a building, you actually put together a 3D building. So when you're done, you have a city 3D. It's really neat. I'll show you these components later, but they're phenomenal and they're just wonderful. The buy, the selling, and the workers is fun and neat. So you need to buy and sell based on what you need and their deficiencies. But you also need to only want to pay this round for who you can actually utilize this round. Now, you don't know for sure because you don't have all of the buildings that are going to be out, but you do know how many are going to come out. So there's a push and pull about when you want to buy and sell people. There is luck in there, so you don't want to keep just the exact number of workers. You might want to keep some extra, especially if you have guys with deficiencies. Because you need to get done what you must get done. And then you can kind of hope you get done what you'd like to get done. And that's a pretty good push and pull. I like that in the game. The game is very easy to learn and very easy to play. Once you go through a round, it's not difficult. Now, knowing what you should do at all times can be more difficult, but learning to play the actual mechanics is pretty easy. The game is pretty simple. It plays literally under an hour. I think it's a good base for this game. You don't want it to go on too long. It might go around too long. That's not a huge problem with the game, I don't think. They do inflict some comedy into it with the names of the characters, and they're really funny, like Booger Bob and stuff like that, and Slim's Lazy and stuff. It's just funny stuff that no bearing on the game at all, but I found it comical, and we would say these names out loud, and we'd get a chuckle out of them. Now the cons: there's a lot of luck to when workers won't work. So each might have letters S, D, W, and they represent depression and laziness. So you might flip over an event card that says all the D cards are not working this round unless you pay an extra $3,000. So you have to make a decision of, do I want to keep them in the game? Sometimes they just won't work at all. So you might have everything laid out perfectly, and then Lady Luck comes and says, well, these guys aren't going to work, so you're screwed. I don't know if I really like that too much, but it was neat in the flux of the game. You knew it when you were buying the characters, so that was kind of neat. It may be hard to win if you fall behind. I'm not sure there's a catch-up mechanic in this. The more money you have, the more you can afford to pay. So I don't know if there's a catch-up mechanic. You don't want to fall behind in it too bad. It's really hard to value this stuff at a slight glance. So, the value of the workers, how much you're going to pay them around, the buildings that are coming out, how much you pay for those versus the profit you're going to make off of it. If it takes you 2 or 3 rounds to build it, you've eaten up a lot of your profit. It's very hard at a glance to see what things are worth. This is going to be more of the game because of its lightness. Let's just see how things work out. I feel like more than I'm going to be planning things out. I think if you try to plan things out too much, you're going to come to a screeching halt in this game, and you don't want that to happen. So how do I rate this? I rate this as an okay family game. The components bring it up a little bit to me with the 3D buildings. That's pretty neat. I haven't seen a whole lot of games like this, so I think I'm going to keep this around more for the novelty than it's a fantastic game. But it's a good game. It's a solid game. Not great, not terrible, but solid. I think that most people will enjoy it. You're probably going to want to try it out before you buy it. But for me, I'm going to keep it for right now. Look at the components here for Master Builder. I have to admit that I really like the little claymation art that's on this box. I think it's just really good, and some of this art that's in it is fantastic. But one of the things that makes this box not so appealing is that this is really small, and some of the beautiful artwork is kind of lost with this bland top, and you just can't see what's going on to get really far up on it. But once I do, and the browns just kind of make it drab. But otherwise, I really like the box when you unveil it. This is the rule book, which is just a picture of what's on front. And I actually did like this rule book, okay? It kind of taught me it. Very wordy, but there's some good pictures in here, and it really helped me read it. And I was able to just kind of play along with it. I wish there had been a player aid on the back. You get some instruction on how to do the buildings, which is, you want this. This is nice. And a variant, but I wish that there would have been an overview on the back. That would have been really handy. I kind of wanted to show you, well, mine ended up a mess, so the things don't stay in place very well. But there is a place, if you can kind of see, for everything. But mine didn't stay in place. I don't know if mine was just jerked around a lot, but this is what it ended up looking like. Here is the board that you will be dealing with. And what you'll be using is this little mallet. It's really kind of cool, but overproduced, but nice. I appreciate it. And you'll be moving it as you go through the different actions of the game. And this right here will keep track of how much money you're spending. So you have to constantly count things. It's extra. I'm not sure you needed it, but it does make life easier on everyone. This game does give you everybody's favorite paper money. You're gonna get some 5,000s, 50,000s, 10,000s, and 1,000s. This paper money is very cheap. I don't like it. You'll want to replace it immediately, but the denominations are a little odd. You have 50,000, 10,000, 5,000, and 1,000. So those aren't normal denominations that you would have in a game. The paper money is terrible and cheap. You do get a number of sets of decks of cards here. I want to show you some of these. These are the full-size cards that you're going to get, and these will be what you'll bid on. So what this shows you is the number, the name, how many building sections are included, the price that you get if you build it, how many workers are required, and the minimum bid. And this is an overview of the workers. Now the picture, everything you need is up here. So it's kind of big. I like that they put a picture of it there because this is what you'll be building. But it's a lot of information and very short. But the card quality is very nice. I like it, and there's one for each building. These very simply are your IOU cards. If you need to take a loan, this is what you would take. So you take a 30,000 and you have to repay 38,000 earlier in the game, or 40,000. And there's a 10,000 version. So what you would pay if you early and what you would pay at the end of the game. These are kind of the event cards, what I call the event cards that will come out during the game that will kind of screw with you. So they're just words. There's no pictures on any of them. But let me show you a couple. A worker in your choice with an N, W, or H symbol falls behind and is injured. Cannot work this round but must be paid. Master Craftsman leave. The court demands one Master Craftsman from each player and pays $5,000 for his services. Turn one of your Master Craftsman cards face down. He will not build this round but must be paid as normal. If you have no Master Craftsman, you are not affected. Let me just show you one more. How about this one? An epidemic. An epidemic breaks out. Turn any three of your workers face down. These men will not build this round but must still be paid. So these are just the ways the workers will not work, which will make more sense when they teach you the game. And how that works. Now this is kind of the economic climate of what's going on. And what's going to happen here, it's going to tell you based on the number of players how many contracts you'll be building on. So it's a very good economy right here with very good supply. So in a 4-player game, 4 contracts will come out. But it could also be very poor. I mean, a 2-player game, no contracts come out, and only 1 in a 4-player. So 1 out of 4 people is going to get a contract there. An average 3 in a 4-player game, 1 in a 2. Poor, so it's just randomized how many contracts will come out. And here's the main deck of cards we'll be playing with. These are a little undersized. These are the workers. There's 4 types. There's an apprentice that are green, a tradesman that are purple, foremans that are reddish, and you have the master craftsmen that are yellow. And what you're going to have is they're all going to cost the same within those boundaries. So the apprentices are 1,000. The tradesmen are 3, the foremans are 4, but they all have different names. So let me kind of show you what a card looks like here. Hip hop, which is 1,000. He's an apprentice, and N. So if any of those event cards come out that says N workers, and this stands for something, I don't know what it is, then he would be affected. So you can see these two guys are both apprentices, both cost the same, have different names, Hip Hop and Marcus Mack, even though they have the same artwork. But this guy's effective at HDS. This guy's only effective as an N. Theoretically, he is more valuable. Theoretically, unless randomly an N card comes out that prevents him from working. So you can kind of see the distribution just a little bit. And then, but you know, it really stinks that when these Master Craftsmen are 5,000, H doesn't work and you still have to pay them. The colors on the guys mean nothing. So these are the main cards that we're using. All the cards are good quality. It's really just a matter of some of these are really small for games. So there's a lot of buildings in the game. I just want to show you what one looks like. And I picked this one randomly. So this is the roof. You'll see that it's number 10 is on it. And this piece right here requires 2 pink workers. This is a 10. It requires a red and a green worker. And each part of the house will have a requirement, a yellow and a green worker. And then what you'll do is you'll put them together. And it can be a little tricky to know how these things kind of go together. So I'm going to show you this one that you can put together. And you'll be popping all this out when you get the game. Let's see if I can do it. So there's your building. And when you're done with the game, you'll have a whole city of these 3D buildings that put together. And it's really neat. This is the component that pops in the game. And you'll have a bunch of these. Here's some city walls that you'll be putting together. So there's a ton of them. I'll just kind of show you the cards. That's the 3D effect they'll have. But this is kind of what they look like. Here are the watchtowers. And when you're done, you literally have built a city out in front of you in 3D. The rules are pretty good. You have a little rule book here, not very many pages, and on the back you got some variants and building instructions. The hardest thing I had was learning how to build the buildings and kind of how that all worked. It's not the easiest thing to explain to people. It's not a difficult concept at all. It's just not the most intuitive thing. You don't see it in a lot of games. I found the rule book to be pretty clever, pretty easy to read. I don't think you're having any problems with it. Probably 5 to 7 minutes, 10 tops. You'll be through this book and you'll be playing the game. So let me take you through each step of the round and kind of show you how it works. So what you'll do here is we're going to go around. In round 1, you're going to hire up to 5 workers. In round 2 through 6, you're going to hire or fire up to 3. So what you do if you want to hire somebody, you take the card, you pay the amount listed on it, and he now works for you. That's all you do. So the first round, you pick up 5 people, up to 5. And you can always pass and get somebody the next round if you don't like what's on top, because you might have somebody who is really lazy. Like this guy only doesn't work if an S is on the event card, WM, but this guy HDS. So it's a lot bigger of a challenge to take him because there's more likelihood of a chance of him not working. So you may not want the top guy and take somebody later. So the first part right here where we're at, you hire up the workers, you just take the top guy and it's yours. The second thing you do is acquire contracts. So what you'll do is you'll take one of these contract cards at random and it will tell you what the economy is and how many contracts come out. In this case, only 1. So we would take 1 contract card, and whoever is first players will start the bid. Now you always have to start the bid here at 5,000, knowing that however much you pay your workers, you need 9 total. You don't have to have them all at once. You can build steps. I'll show you that in a second. But you're going to get 55,000 when you do it. So you need to make sure that you, with the cost of buying this, it's going to be auctioned off. So 5, 6, 7, 8 until everybody is out. So if you pay 40,000 for this, you only got 15,000 of a budget to go, so you're not going to want to go that high. So maybe you want to get this for 10,000, and now you have a 45,000 margin to have it built. So that's just to get the blueprint. Once you have the blueprint, nobody else can have it. So you auction those off, and then an event will occur. And so let me take one I haven't shown you, just so you can see more of a variety. Thieves. You must keep each of your building sites under supervision. For each of your contract cards, 1 worker must be assigned as a watchman. This worker will not build this round, but must be paid as normal. So basically, one of your workers, whatever you have to use him and put him aside, pay for him, but he won't build anything, and he just keeps your contract safe, 1 for each. So it's going to penalize you for having more contracts. And then what you're going to do is build. And now, building's a little complicated. So each building part will have a worker on it. So in this case, I would need to have a pink worker in order to build this, or I can have anything above. So let me show you a different thing. So here, I need, on this one, I need a purple and a green. So I could have one purple and one green worker build this piece, or I could have two master craftsmen. As long as it's this way, the only combination I couldn't have would be two green. Now when you build, for example, you're always going to need for the building to stand up. So let me see. So if I'm building this one, for example, the roof always goes on last. So I couldn't build these two pieces, for example, the yellow and green and the yellow. Even if I had those workers, I can't build that because the building wouldn't stand up. They'd fall down. What I could do is build, if I had a yellow and a green worker, and I wanted to set him to work here, and I had two pinks, I can, well, no, that's a roof. Sorry. A pink and a green here. I could set this together. And now this would stand up on its own. That would be a legal move. Same thing if I wanted to build this. Now you don't have to build it all one round. I could build this round, go all the way back through everything I told you. Next round, send two of my workers, is that red workers, and put it here, as long as it can stand up on its own, and the following round, the yellow. The only real rule, and it's kind of tricky, is that it has to be able to stand up on its own, and the roofs always go on last. So you just have to build these last, and then it goes on top. When you're completed, you put in the city, you keep the cards finished, and you get the money for it. And that's kind of how that works. So that's what you do. The last stage of the game is you're going to collect all the money for things you built, and you would pay all of your workers. So if I had these two workers, whether they built anything or not, just the mere fact that I had them, I would have to pay 5 plus 4, $9,000. So you always want to be managing the budget of your workers with what you need this round, because each round in step 1, you can fire people you don't need. And I highly recommend you firing people you don't need, because if you can't send them to work this round, you are hosed. So sometimes you might not have a contract. You're like, I must get a contract, and you don't know exactly what's going to come out. You also don't know what event is going to come out. So you might have to have a few more workers just in case something bad happens, and kind of just plan for that and have a contingency. So it's really a small economic game about budgeting your workers who may not even work, having overcapacity of employees in order to build these buildings, and sometimes you don't even know what buildings you're going to have, and that planning is out of your control sometimes, but that's how a master builder works. Who should buy this game? Anybody looking for a light game? It's got an auction in it, so you're gonna have to like that. There is some luck in it with the events, so that can screw you over pretty bad if you go too heavy on like D workers or S workers or W. You'll kind of want to spread things out, but you need them in pairs too, so a lot of times. I'm going to probably tell you to try this one before you buy it. Family might like this game. I think building the city looks really cool. This might be, it's the Wolfgang Kramer game, so, and Matthias. Yeah, so this has got a couple big names on the side of the box to be such a forgotten game, one I had never heard of. I don't know how it ended up in my collection, but it did. Try it before you buy it. I think there's some games out there like it that might be better, but the auction and the way you hire the workers and have to pay for them and they might not work is kind of unique to me. I kind of like that. So I'm waffling a little bit, but it will be a keeper for me.